Update. That call lasted less than 10 minutes. What didn't sit right was how my name had made it back into the system again. I went to the county court database and requested copies of the public records tied to my parents' detention. Their defense paperwork had included statements listing me as an estranged but contactable adult relative, which was not only false but dangerous. They were still using my name to build the illusion of a functioning family. I contacted my lawyer immediately. We filed a sworn declaration to the court where the charges were pending. It included copies of my emancipation records, the previous disavowal of guardianship, and recent court rulings stating that I was not legally or ethically tied to them. My lawyer sent a cease and desist notice to their legal team, warning that any future use of my identity would be considered intentional misrepresentation. During all this, I got a message request through an old academic email I rarely checked. It was from a cousin on my father's side, a name I hadn't seen in over a decade. It was polite and brief, asking if we could talk. I agreed to one call no video and through a monitored app. The cousin started by saying they hadn't known much. Apparently, years ago, the family had been told I had behavioral problems at boarding school, that I'd been sent away for disciplinary reasons, and had chosen to cut everyone off. According to them, the extended family was discouraged from reaching out, told that I'd moved on and wanted space. Then he told me something else. My half-sister had grown up thinking I had left because I didn't care, that I had walked away. No one had ever told her anything different. I didn't want to drag her into this. She was a kid. She hadn't made the choices that landed her in the system or created the lies. So I wrote a letter, no accusations, no anger, just facts. That I had been placed in boarding school when I was 9, that I hadn't been picked up on graduation day, that I had reached out more than once and been ignored, that I didn't leave her. I wasn't even told she existed until I found her name by accident. I mailed it to the foster agency handling her case. No return address. No expectation of a reply. I just didn't want her to grow up believing she'd been unwanted by everyone. A few weeks after that, I got another email. This time from a journalist who had attended the college panel I spoke at months earlier. She was doing a feature on institutional estrangement and wanted to include my story. I agreed under one condition: no real names, no identifying details, and no photos. She respected that. The article was published in a niche education journal but made its way around quietly. A non-profit that supports foster youth and kids aging out of state systems picked it up and asked me to contribute to a TEDx-style event they were organizing. The theme was resilience. I accepted and used the same alias from the article. The talk focused on structural abandonment. How systems fail when people don't show up for a child, not just once but over and over again. I didn't mention my parents. I didn't name schools or cities. But I talked about waiting on curbs, about seeing other kids go home for holidays, about sleeping next to packed bags that no one ever came for. When the event ended, a few people in the audience waited to shake my hand. No names shared, just silent thanks. Afterward, I walked out into the street and called a friend's mother who had once given me a blanket and told me I could take food from her fridge. I told her I'd spoken at something that mattered. She said she already knew I'd sent her the link ahead of time. For the first time, my past wasn't just mine. It had turned into something that didn't hurt when spoken out loud. Not because it disappeared, but because I wasn't holding it alone anymore. A month after the TEDx talk, my lawyer received a message from a new attorney representing my parents. It wasn't a legal threat. It was an offer. They wanted me to release a public statement saying I'd always been in contact with them and that stories of abandonment had been misinterpreted. In return, they were offering a financial settlement. The wording was vague but intentional. They wanted credibility back. They wanted me to erase the truth in exchange for silence. I didn't respond directly. My lawyer sent a cease and desist within the hour, stating that any further attempts to manipulate the public narrative or coerce communication would result in legal action. We also updated the court file with the exchange, reinforcing the protective filings we had already submitted months earlier. That was the last we heard from their side.